Fat Bob boys, it is time to check out the bike I almost bought instead of my Street Glide. Let's get into it. So I almost bought this bike over a Street Glide, and today I'm going to tell you if I made a good or bad decision by not buying the Fat Bob. This one here is a 21, and fortunately not much has changed from 21, 22, 23, so it's going to be relevant even to a new bike. And essentially what I want to tell you today is not only did I make a mistake in not buying this, but I want to tell you pros and cons and my honest opinion of the Fat Bob. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before we start, big thanks to American Biker here in Latson, South Carolina for letting me come out and give you my honest opinion on this motorcycle. If you need something like a used Harley, a new Indian, Ravaco, Slingshot, ATV, whatever, come talk to Rob at American Biker. Again, big thanks to these guys for letting me come out and take a look at this bike. Now, chances are if you're looking at this bike, you're looking at a Lowrider S, Lowrider ST, a Breakout. So you have a soft tail motor, and then you have the big 114 engine in it, okay? So you get a lot of power. It has some touring capabilities, some light touring capabilities, and you have the ability to add a passenger. But this is the performance cruiser lineup, if you will. Aggressive stance, big motor, lighter bike than your touring bikes, of course. So that's the type of class of bike we're talking about. 3.6 gallon tank, 676 pounds, and you have a 27-inch seat height. Bike just has a ton of character to it, man. And yeah, there's some things I don't like, but that 114 engine and the soft tail frame, by the way, it's got the monoshock in the rear that's hidden, so it looks like an hardtail. I really like that aspect of it. One thing you'll notice instantly on this bike, and one thing that I praise Harley over for doing with this, similar to the Pan America, is the front end is totally different. So if you're looking at like a Fat Boy that is more of a traditional bike, or a Heritage, this bike breaks the mold, man. So that LED kind of has an off-road look, and they finish that with the type of Dunlop tires that they actually put on this bike. Super aggressive. Everything about this bike is aggressive. And as you can see, the price is right here. This one is 17 grand, brand new. It's actually like 19 grand. This bike has 4,000 miles on it, by the way. It's barely broken in. But this is what I'm talking about. This whole design right here is super cool, very different. If you are a younger buyer, kind of like myself, of course, this is something you'd be looking at because it's cool. It's different, it's aggressive, it fits the bike. This is one of my favorite features, honestly, about this motorcycle. One thing you'll notice as well is you have the 43 millimeter inverted front forks and the chopped front and rear fenders, giving it that kind of bobber style or custom style, if you will. Another feature I really love about this bike is the white outline Harley Davidson on the rim. I think it looks just really cool. It's just a lot of fun, dude. I'm really impressed with the seating position. I think they did a great job at mixing comfort and aggressiveness, right? You kind of feel like you're, I don't know, like more in control of this bike, or I don't know, it's got a way different feeling than any of the soft tails that I've ridden. And that power right there, even my Insta knows the deal. That's what this bike is about, dude. That's what it's for. Man, this thing is fun. Here's your tank. This one is in Deadwood green, by the way. So it's got that matte finish, which looks pretty good. And then, of course, your Harley graphics right here. And again, they've changed it up. Now, I'm a huge fan of what they do with the single bar and shield. I just think it looks good. Here's your gas tank lid. A lot of this stuff we're going to talk about on the road. And then you have your 2-up seat right here. Now, this seat looks really good with the white stitching. But I imagine this thing will suck after like 75 miles. But, you know, we're not going to go 75 miles a day, but we'll see. You have the open ventilator right there. 2 into 1 into 2 exhaust. Again, it has that really kind of performance inspired with that bronze shield that goes over it. Passenger pegs, 6-speed transmission. The previous owner added the mustache bars in the front there, and then he also added a passenger pillion and the luggage rack in the back. Now, similar to your Breakout, it has that same kind of rear fender, at least from what I can remember about the Breakout. Actually, I had a buddy of mine that just bought a new Breakout, but it has the same type of design. What it doesn't have is the big 240 millimeter rear tire. It's got a 180 millimeter rear tire instead. So this bike should turn better than like your Breakout, okay? So interested to see that. And then Harley gives you LEDs all the way around, except they're not all the way around. They still give you incandescents in the rear. They still give you incandescents in the front turn signals, and they do this on the 2023s as well. I don't know why. I don't get it. They probably have a warehouse full of these things, and they're like, hey, we're not putting LEDs on it until we get rid of these. I have no idea. It bugs the crap out of me though. But regardless, it's time to hit the road. Let me get my helmet on and let's see how this thing rides. All right, here she is, the bike I almost bought instead of my Street Glide. Let's see if I made a mistake right now. Now this of course was before my Road Glide. All right, let's adjust these mirrors here really quick. All right, 21 Fat Bob. First time actually riding this motorcycle. One of the few that I have yet to do in the Harley lineup. And I gotta tell you, first impression, it feels like a very short motorcycle. It's got a 28-degree-inch rake, but it just feels like a chunky powerhouse. Maybe that's what I'll call this thing, the chunky powerhouse. It just feels really, really weird, man. You know, I mean, the tire's like right there, and then I'm right here over the top of it. It just, I don't know, it's got a different type of feel, and different than anything else that I think I've ridden. And I was really expecting, as far as the seating position, a V-Rod style, but I'm not getting that at all. It looks very close to kind of like the V-Rod. Not really, not really at all, actually. I'll recant that. But it's got a really aggressive stance to it. My butt is firmly planted. My feet are out in ahead of me. And so one thing I noticed about the V-Rod, it was so far forward as far as the bars and the controls that I kind of felt like the letter C, like I was like this on the V-Rod. On this one, I still feel like I'm sitting up straight with my butt firmly planted. Very different than the Lowrider ST I just rode, where I felt like I was sitting on top of that bike and it was just really uncomfortable. This does not feel like that. So the seating position actually is really good. You have like these drag style bars, you have a little bit of rise here, and they come back fairly good. I mean, my arms aren't completely stretched out. They're close, but they're not completely stretched out. We have a single tachometer right here, digital speedometer. You do have some options here as far as what's remaining in the tank or remaining miles. RPM gauge is you can go digital as well, but you got it right here as far as the analog, so I don't think I'd be doing that. 4,696 miles. Trip A, trip B. That's it. Pretty simple instrumentation. You got like a rotator right here, so it's going to show you like how many degrees it's rotated. So I guess 0 to 15 degrees is about what you got there if you want to roll these back. or maybe even roll them forward. Oh yeah, I like this seating position so much better than I do the Lowrider ST and the V-Rod, honestly. Those are the two that really come to mind when I'm riding this. The Lowrider ST, I just rode that one, and this one is so much more comfortable. I actually did a review on that, so if you want to check out the Lowrider ST and the Lowrider S, I have reviews on both. Brakes grab really good. You have dual brakes up front, totally flat-footed. There's your controls right there. Itty bitty pegs, right? And you know, on a $19,000 bike, they just look cheap to me. The previous owner added this engine guard right there, so, and it's the same one I added to the Lowrider S, so you can throw your foot up on there if you want and have a little bit different position. You got your open ventilator right there. Now, one thing I do like compared to, let's just say, the V-Rod, is the exhaust my buddy has on his V-Rod made that a challenge because I'm so short. I'm 5'7". This one is not in the way at all, and your passenger's ankles might get a little burnt if they're not wearing the proper gear, but it's got plenty of room back there at least. With as short as this bike feels overall, I imagine having a passenger on this thing, it probably feels pretty cramped. That's just a guess. I don't really know that. Ah, the 114 in a soft tail frame. That's where this thing shines, dude. A 3.5 gallon tank. So, you know, if you're doing some light touring on this, you're gonna have pretty decent range. Not as good as a touring bike, obviously, but the bike comes standard with ABS. You have a fuel level gauge right there. And like I said, I almost bought this bike. I really did. I had grown out of my Iron 883 and I was ready for something different. And I was really attracted to the aesthetics of this bike, and that's what I want to talk about. It is a mean looking machine. Aggressive. The styling is like perfect for what it is, and I really love the way this bike looks, and I think that's an attractive part of it. Like the white outlines on the rims, you know, the matte finishes, the inverted front forks, that headlight, it all just leads to a sexy, mean looking motorcycle. This thing needs some exhaust for real. Turn signals on the left and right bars there, of course, like you would expect from Harley. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. This is the type of bike you want to have in Tennessee. Corner carving. So let's talk about who this bike is for. This is like the ultimate corner carving machine. Now, you know, in the Harley lineup anyways. And of course, a lot of the Softail lineup is really good for that. You know, you get, you know, what, 31 and 32 degree inch lane angle. So it's, you know, it's not going to be like a Pan America or, you know, like a sport bike. Still not a bad lean angle there for what it is. Aggressive styling, bike nights, rallies, you know, doing some light touring, commuting even, you know, all of those things, it really checks the boxes off. And personally, it's one of those bikes that I feel would probably get a lot of questions. It handles so weird too. I don't want to say it's bad. It just feels like with that short rake and everything that I've talked about, it just handles different, dude. I would have to take some time to do any kind of low speed stuff on this one for sure. So it checks a lot of boxes off. The aesthetics are fantastic. The styling, everything about that, I'm pretty much a fan of. Some of the cons that I've noticed, again, that turning, it feels a little wonky. I don't know if it's just the short rake. I don't know if it's the bigger, knobbier tires, or maybe a combination of all those things with the drag style bars. It just takes some getting used to them. It's not really a bad thing. I can't even really call it a con. The cluster right here, I would much prefer that to be right here, because, you know, looking down right here, it's not like you really need this to shift gears. You can feel when you need to shift. It's just you have to look too far down. I don't really like that. And some people may not like this. I am a fan just because it fits the bike, right? It fits the aggressive stance. It fits the aggressive tires. It's got like this kind of off-road look to it, and yet it's different than anything Harley really does. And so I appreciate that, you know, but it doesn't look stupid. It still looks good, you know what I mean? Harley badging, this deadwood green, awesome. Dual disc brakes, love the accent there on the wheel with the white Harley Davidson symbol there. I like the accent on the tank. Overall, an awesome setup. I'm really a big fan of the seating position, way more than I thought I would be. I thought I was going to be uncomfortable. Not at all. This seat, like I suspected, this thing would really suck after 75 miles or so. 114 motor. This thing is quick. It's a lot of fun, dude. If you live in the mountains, I am envious of you, and this is one you would have a fantastic time on. Let's talk about some of the cons. We already talked about the seat. Your passenger will hate you if you stick with this right here. It's got a weird feel to it, man. And again, I think it's a combo of a few things. I think the rake, I think the drag style bars, and where you're positioned over this tire. It just feels really short, feels kind of awkward sometimes. At least when I first got on it, I was kind of turning. I was like, oh crap, is this thing gonna turn? But you know, it just feels different. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm not a huge fan of a 240 millimeter rear tire. What I am a fan of is a 240 millimeter tire that fills up this gap in here. It's not a bad look. It just looks so much better when that gap is kind of filled up. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things. Again, you can kind of see your monoshock in there. Love that design. All in all, man, I think they did a great job. Did I make a mistake by not buying this bike and buying the Street Glide? No, I don't think so. Because for what I wanted, hard bags and radio fairing, all that kind of stuff, this doesn't have any of that. If this was a second bike, though, this would be ideal, dude. I'm really happy with this thing, man. I don't regret not buying it, but I really like what Harley Davidson did with the Fat Bob. Things I would change, pretty much like any of these bikes, I would add some kind of a detachable windshield, add some different pegs. These things are just cheap. Add a better seat for sure. He's already got the luggage rack. I'm not sure about saddlebag options, man, because your exhaust is right there. I don't know what you could do there. I think this is probably the best option right there to have some additional storage, and that's pretty much it. All in all, pretty awesome option, man. Let me know what you think. If you have one of the Fat Bobs, let me know what you think about the bike down in the comments below. If you want to support what I do, we're looking for our first 10 patrons. I'll leave a link to that down below, or you can join this channel too, man. Big thanks to you guys. See you in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.